Well, it's time for one of those stock standard videos where I walk into Coles and the server says, "Hey man, you gonna do a video about all the crazy shit that's going down on Capitol Hill?" Well, I was just in here to buy barbecue chicken, but if you're gonna give me cheap content and cheap chicken, well, Coles, you can't beat their value, can you? I don't know, guys, have you heard about this? It's very esoteric, but apparently some people raided Capitol Hill. Can you believe that? I'm gonna stop the sarcasm for a second because how cool is that? Literally barbarians at the gate. Think about how unprecedented that is. Not even in the Civil War did the South reach Capitol Hill. They were close, but they were no match for Trump supporters. Here's what the Bob made this point. Think about it. Think about the shattered glass on the ground. That glass has never been broken before. Until the one, the only came in and turned his onomatopoeia into reality. Boom. And obviously we need to make the standard broadcaster point that it's very unfortunate that 5 people died in these riots. Now it's time to make the obligatory Friendly Geordies point, but how does this play into the propaganda model? Let's find out. What is the difference between what we're doing now and Rice Gum's "These kids must be stopped, yo"? Dude! Well, I'll give him this. Don't you think that every president in our lifetime, it'll be a sentence in the history books? George Bush Sr. entered Iraq. George Bush Jr. finished the job. Well, Clinton played the sax. Barack Obama, inspired hope or something. Donald Trump, boom, 3 volumes. And that's light reading, by the way. We could do plenty more. I bought Manufacturing and Wars Back to America because America first. None of these cheap wars from overseas. Terrible quality, only the best. But actually, and I can't remember the name of this guy because it was Ali from the pod, he was telling me that there was a dude in Obama's administration whose entire job was to come up with models to predict civil wars. And he has put the US in one of the countries that is likely to break into a civil war. But you know what the determining factor is? And this is the point that we want to get to in between laughing at memes. The thing that determines if a country is going to go into civil war is if the elite is fractured. Because there is that Koch brother bloc that funds the Republicans and that Silicon Valley bloc that supports the Democrats, and they have very different visions of the future. One wants to destroy the planet and be the only human beings left in this tiny little Mars-like bubble that they create in Alaska and say what they want when they want in their bubble. And one wants to bring back normalcy and decorum and just decency for others, as it's easier to program that into cyborg slave software. That's why Twitter banned Trump after he lost the election. Do you think that they'd do that if he won? Not a chance. Even if he actually did evoke a full-scale civil war, they'd probably just put at the bottom, "Some people disagree with this." It was first of all to curry favour with the administration coming in, but also, let's just focus in on this. For everybody saying, "Thank God that they got rid of him, it's about time." Well, first they came for Alex Jones, and I said nothing. But God, they silenced the President of the United States. Arguably, not even arguably, the most powerful man on earth, and he's gone. He no longer exists. I mean, think about it. Is Trump starting a protest that turned into a riot through no volition of his own? He didn't incite violence. Have you seen what they're saying is evidence of him inciting violence?
And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
It's just him saying, "I won the election fair and square." You might as well deplatform Barack Obama for saying, "You know what needs to happen in America? Civics needs to be taught in schools better." Look, I know we've all heard these points on Fox News before, but I'm sorry, what side of politics was incessantly harping on about Russia for 4 years straight? That's right, the Democrats. If you're going to ban every elected official in the US for inciting violence, who would be left? All of them are constantly asking for trade sanctions, no-fly zones, invasions of other countries. Well, you're just sitting there being, "Oh my God, he organized a protest! A protest with a guy who looks like he should be in a Far Cry game. Even if it is violent, I haven't smiled that much in years. The shot of that guy going, "Hey Mo, get a Pikachu. I'm the Speaker of the United States." Far Cry Guy is a US hero, yet he's been painted as violent by people that make other countries look like Fallout. Far Cry over Fallout. Having said that though, Trump protesters, you missed a golden opportunity to enrich yourselves beyond your wildest dreams. The promise that Republicans are going to make you rich that they've been touting since the 90s, that could have happened to you. You stormed into Nancy Pelosi's office and you didn't take her computer? The Koch brothers would have offered $1 billion for that. If you went up to him and said, "Yo, Charles, I want $1 billion for this computer," he'd say, "Fair price, you could have asked for more, sucker." But instead, the darkest day in American history was pretty much just a bunch of 17-year-olds walking into a construction site going, "Oh, I'm gonna take this sign home." Dude, it was just urbex that went a little too rough. But people are always asking me what I think about Donald Trump as a president. I don't know why. Gladys Berejiklian is not a member of the US Congress. I'm not exactly an expert on it. But I will say this. As a member of District 1, aka Australia, I don't really care about domestic policy in the US. That's their problem. But the US president being emperor of the earth, the two things that are really important are wars and climate change. And if Trump had a remotely sane policy on climate change, I'd be really sad that he's going. You put Seinfeld music to any speech Donald Trump has ever made, it's a stand-up show. But in terms of US imperialism, he's the best president since Carter. I honestly think that that's probably the reason that he ended up being a one-termer. I mean, yeah, his reversal of the Iran deal and his coup in Bolivia, I guess you can say that those are blemishes on his record, but let's be honest, that was the only good thing Obama did in terms of foreign policy, and as if he wouldn't have done the coup in Bolivia anyway. The only difference is he wouldn't have been so brash about it, and I think that that's the real reason that the elite fought so hard to get Joe Biden in, or at least his faction of it, is because they realized that imperialism works better if it's polite. I mean, yeah, I'd still vote for Biden because take one for the team, Yemen. Climate change is obviously the biggest emergency facing humanity, and that is the most influential office in the world in terms of addressing that, definitely. But nobody paid his foreign policy except Chomsky and Tucker Carlson. I mean, yeah, he's still a US president, but he didn't start any new wars. No one pays him for that. And it ends with him getting kicked off Twitter for being violent. And that's the overall point that really scares me, is that Twitter is so powerful now that it made him as president. First off, he wouldn't have got the backing of Fox News, Newsmax, all of these other conservative media outlets if at first he didn't have a social media platform to prove how popular he was with his voting base. And then they decided, you no longer have a voice, to the sitting president of the United States. Who can't they silence if that's the case? I agree with the Tuck on this one. Big tech is very concerning. Nonetheless, I will continue to use their platforms until I am no longer politically convenient to them, at which point I'll be very upset and no one on planet Earth will know. Probably not even me, as I won't be able to read my updates. And on top of that, such a stupid tactic that all those Hollywood celebrities endorse. As if that is going to make his base think, oh, now that he's been kicked off social media, I'm just going to go back to my life now. That doesn't make him look like a martyr in the slightest. The one policy issue of free speech that they actually care about is obviously not in jeopardy. Their suspicions that big tech controls the universe have obviously been quelled, and now they'll listen to the chick from Seinfeld again as their guiding force on Twitter. I knew that Sacha Baron Cohen, who as soon as COVID hit, moved to Bondi and sent his kids to elite private schools in one of the most COVID-free countries on earth, is obviously in touch with red-blooded Americans. Thanks for the second Borat where we were the laughing stock of the entire movie. You made America safe again, Sash. I guess that's why you left. Oh wait, sorry, we actually have to react to some videos. Let's go back to that.
They are inside Statuary Hall.
Come on, regardless of your political stripe, isn't this epic? People taking back their government. Imagine if they were doing that for something meaningful like they did in ancient Rome to increase the bread dole or whatever, instead of, I demand a president that doesn't use a teleprompter. This is the reason that I actually do really like the Republican base and hate the Democrat base. You can tell that the Democrat base is sort of power hungry and snarky and angry about their position in life. They just want a little bit of a promotion. But with Trump's base, why do they like him? They don't like him because he deregulated the fishing industry and made it just open season in the Atlantic Ocean. They like him for the same reason I do. He's funny and he holds his rallies at the same place I watch the monster trucks. This huge divide that you constantly hear pundits on their press talking about with the US, it's never been this divided before. The average American would agree on most issues. The only reason they don't is because this press class exists and they are doing the bidding of these two factions that are trying to pull the country apart so that they can get their president in. But do you think that Trump would have existed in the 90s? I honestly don't think he would have, because the entire elite establishment would have just been sitting there and saying, nah, we don't really need a charismatic person to pull half the country away to vote for them. We'll just stick with the one that's got a nice, sweet southern drawl. Clinton was drawing up the rules for the New World Order, so the elites were fine with the way that the country was going. But now that it's on decline, now it's rats leaving a sinking ship. All you're seeing is that Universe 25 experiment, except in suits.
No, it's my brain! Mine! Look over there, it's China! Oh, my brain!
Physically trying to storm the Capitol to stop the constitutional process of electors being counted.
Nah, look, I'm not going to go through the footage. I can't be bothered. I said everything I wanted to say, so make sure that you liked this video if you enjoyed that extremely fresh analysis that other American YouTube commentators have probably said, I'm sure. But also, if you're going to put all of those fact checks under Trump's tweets, come on, do the same to Obama. By 2014, the war in Afghanistan will be over. Oh, that didn't age well. I really want to see Obama get banned from Twitter. Just the thought of him waking up one day and go, well, what did I do? I'll tell you what you did. You dethroned a great man, Gaddafi. Anyway, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'm stealing Isaac Butterfield's sign off for this one because we're talking about America. Peace in the Middle East. See yous.
Please share and comment below. Comment.